My friends, this is gonna be the ultimate video of the internet's craziest crimes. We're talking about ridiculous crimes committed by the dumbest people. Crimes committed using AI to YouTubers who turned into notorious criminals, and even actual kids who committed horrible crimes. Today's video is gonna be a special one, so grab some H2O, sit back and relax as we dive into the ultimate list of the internet's worst crimes. I'm Visual Venture and you are awesome. In love with Elon. Romance scams are a huge problem on the internet. In 2022, about 70,000 people reported falling for romance scams, losing about $1.3 billion. Now imagine how much worse romance scams could be if criminals started using AI. Well, they already are. In July 2023, a woman in South Korea received a friend request on Instagram. To her surprise, it was from none other than Elon Musk. This woman was a huge fan of Elon. She even read his biography. But she knew that anyone could create an Instagram account pretending to be Elon Musk, so this friend request might not be actually from him. After all, why would the richest man in the world suddenly reach out to her? But then she thought, what if it was real? What if she ignored it and missed the chance to be friends with one of the most successful men to have ever lived? For most of us, it's pretty easy to tell if an Instagram account is real or fake. But she was an older woman who wasn't good with social media, so she took the risk and accepted Elon Musk's friend request. They started chatting. Right away, she wanted to know if this Elon was real or just a scammer. She asked a ton of questions and demanded proof. But Elon had an answer for everything. To assure her that he was the real Elon Musk, he sent her a photo of his ID card, but it was no ordinary ID card. It was a Citizen of Mars ID. The card showed his ID number on Mars, which was 1, and it indicated that his place of birth is Earth. Sending that card to prove his identity was crazy, but it kind of fit Elon's quirky personality. After all, he's launching rockets to send people to Mars. As they continued chatting on Instagram, Elon told her about his work, how he traveled in a private helicopter and where he planned to build new Tesla factories. He also shared details about his family life, saying things like the kids go to SpaceX every weekend. Almost everything Elon told her matched what was reported in the news. Little by little, her doubts melted away, but she still had one burning question. Why did Elon Musk want to talk to her specifically? She asked, and Elon had the perfect answer. He said he liked to randomly reach out to his fans. This Elon was funny, smart, and charming, and she couldn't help but like him more and more. Then Elon took it a step further. He suggested a video call. This was the ultimate test. If she saw his face on a video call, she'd be sure he was the real Elon. The video call happened, and there he was, Elon Musk himself. She watched as his lips moved, hearing his voice and seeing his geeky mannerisms in real time. But something amazing happened during that call. Elon Musk told her he loved her. The richest man in the world, a tech genius, was in love with her. It felt like a fairy tale. And Elon had a gift for her. He wanted to make her rich. Elon told her about a private investment opportunity that was guaranteed to quadruple her money. Apparently, that same investment helped make him a billionaire. Now, because he loved her, he wanted her to be rich too. He told her, "I'm happy that my fans will become wealthy through me." Elon convinced her to send $50,000 US to a Korean bank account. He claimed the account belonged to one of his employees in Korea. She transferred the money thinking she was about to start a new life with a billionaire. But it never happened. After she sent the $50,000, Elon Musk vanished. He stopped responding to her messages and her money was gone. That's when she realized it was a huge scam. The Elon Musk she'd been talking to wasn't the real Elon. But how could he be fake if she spoke to him on a video call? The answer is deepfakes. Deepfake technology is now so advanced that you can have a video call using someone else's face and voice in real time. Later, the heartbroken woman went on a South Korean TV show to share her story and warn others. With deepfake romance scams becoming more common, finding love online has never been this risky, especially for the older generation. Most people try to hide their crimes. This next criminal streamed it live for everyone to see. An influencer driving under the influence. We currently live in an era filled with live entertainment, but back in 2015, the concept of live streams and content creation was still gaining traction, which is why when Whitney Beal's stream happened, people were speechless. In October of 2015, a woman in Lakewood, Florida named Whitney Beal broke the internet by live streaming herself committing an actual crime for the entire world to see. Whitney, who was only 23 years old at the time, had been live streaming herself on the mobile app Periscope to around 50 viewers. She started her live live stream in the parking lot of a bar, sitting in her car. From her slurred speech to her overenthusiastic demeanor, it was obvious that Whitney was not sober. But when it was time to go, instead of calling a cab, Whitney decided that she was going to drive herself home. So naturally, she had a bunch of people speak up in her chat, calling her out for her actions and begging her to get a ride home, while others simply just insulted her for being so irresponsible. But Whitney didn't seem to care and didn't seem to realize how dangerous it was to drive. All Whitney cared about was the number of people watching and not realizing that the viewers weren't watching for her. They were watching because she was putting herself and others in danger. Then she begins to drive home, but it wouldn't be long before one of many concerned viewers puts a stop to it all. Around 40 minutes into her stream, you can hear sirens in the background, with Whitney soon realizing that the cops were now on her tail. Turns out, once the stream was reported to the police, they were able to use Whitney's Periscope live stream to track down her real-time location, stopping her before she was able to make it to her destination. Whitney was given a field sobriety test, which she failed almost immediately, and when asked to take a breath test, she refused to comply with the officers. She was promptly arrested for driving under the influence, which also came with a 6-month license suspension, 10 months of vehicle impoundment, and 12 months of probation. Sometimes trying to go viral can land you in handcuffs, and in this next case, it could end in death. The stunt gone wrong. There are plenty of videos that have gone viral on YouTube, but few have ever been able to match this scale. That's because not only was this video idea absolutely crazy, but it was also extremely dangerous. Mona Lisa Perez is another perpetrator in a YouTube stunt gone wrong. In 2017, Mona Lisa's boyfriend, Pedro Ruiz, came up with the ultimate plan for YouTube fame. One that was high risk and high reward. This was gonna be their first video, and Pedro wanted to start the channel off with a bang.
He came up with the idea of having Mona Lisa discharge a firearm at a book that he would be holding in front of his chest, under the theory that the book would stop the bullet.
Although the idea was dangerous, it was one of a kind, and Pedro seemed confident in the book's ability to protect his life. The couple tested their theory with a bunch of different books, and based on these trials, it seemed like the books were able to block the impact. So the two decided it was safe to move on to the real thing, but unfortunately, they would be wrong. Even after their successful trials, the result of the actual shot would be fatal. Mona Lisa, who was just 19 at the time, was 7 months pregnant with Pedro's second child. She claimed that she begged him not to go through with the idea, knowing that it could have ended up with this sort of outcome. After the video was released and taken down soon after, the Minnesota Department of Public Safety revealed a transcript of a conversation between Mona Lisa and Pedro. It seemed clear that Mona Lisa did not want to go through with it, but Pedro insisted.
Babe, I'm not doing this. I can't. As long as you hit the book, you'll be fine.
According to Pedro's aunt, Pedro was the mastermind behind the idea. She even tried to stop him from doing it, but he wouldn't budge. And when she asked him why he would even want to do such a thing, Pedro said, because we want more viewers. We want to get famous.
I may fail, but if I fail, I want to die trying.
Mona Lisa could have faced up to 10 years of jail time and a $20,000 fine, but she only ended up serving 180 days in prison. Mona Lisa doesn't seem like she'll be making a return to content creation anytime soon. This next story proves that sometimes the biggest threat to a criminal is their own stupidity. Kenneth Morgan. Kenneth Morgan was described as Britain's dumbest burglar. What did he do to earn that title? By the time he was 48, Kenneth Morgan was a career criminal. He had been in and out of jail multiple times. By 2011, he was out of jail again. And just 3 weeks later, he was already planning another break-in. His plan was simple: sneak into a house when no one was home and grab what he could. But things didn't go as planned. Once the coast was clear, Morgan broke into the house. As he was grabbing stuff, he heard the front door open. The homeowners were back. Morgan panicked. He ran to the kitchen and jumped out of the window. But in his rush, Morgan forgot something that would make him one of the dumbest criminals ever. When the homeowners walked in, it was clear someone broke in, and the thief left their backpack behind. Inside the backpack was a phone, an ID card, a birth certificate, and even a passport. Every single item had the same name, Kenneth Morgan, and the passport had his face printed right on it. The police couldn't believe their luck. They reportedly giggled like schoolgirls when they saw the evidence. When the cops knocked on Morgan's door, he had a story ready. He claimed someone stole the bag and planted it at the crime scene. He was being framed. But no one believed him. Not the police and definitely not the jury. Especially after they found out that he had 23 burglary convictions dating back 25 years. Kenneth Morgan was sentenced to 6 years in prison. His next story begins with a simple prank. Then everything got out of control. The teen who put hundreds in danger. On May 12, 2023, police in Florida got a chilling 911 call. The caller sounded shaken up. He said he was about to do something really bad. Then in the background, the 911 operator heard loud popping noises. They sounded like fireworks or something worse.
You are there now?
I'm inside my car.
But before hanging up, the caller gave one crucial piece of information, his location. Within minutes, 30 armed officers were on their way. They expected chaos, maybe even a violent showdown. But when they arrived, everything was calm. No one was in danger, no one was hurt. The cops felt like fools. After talking to a few people in the neighborhood, they realized what happened. The 911 call was a prank, a fake emergency. The officers went back to the station hoping this would be a one-time thing. But it wasn't. The same person called 911 again and again, each time with a different voice, a different number, and a different story. But every time police rushed to the scene, they realized no one was in danger. In some cases, the 911 caller sent police to people's homes. The cops would break through the doors, scaring those who lived there. Soon, the police were desperate to find the caller. They thought it was an adult, someone with a grudge against the police or an ex-con who wanted to waste law enforcement resources. Little did they know, the caller they were hunting was just a teenager. The person behind these fake emergency calls was a 16-year-old named Alan Winston Fillion from Lancaster, California. Most kids his age were playing video games or hanging out with friends. But Fillion had a dark hobby: swatting.
It's called swatting, a fake call to 911 claiming it brings out a large response from law enforcement.
They call it swatting because SWAT teams are sent to deal with the emergency. The problem with swatting is that innocent people can get hurt in the chaos. Alan Winston Fillion made his first swatting call in August 2022. He used text-to-speech software to disguise his voice and caller ID spoofing to hide his location. When police fell for it the first time, Fillion felt a rush of excitement. He realized he could outsmart the system.
They want to see armed officers. They want to see bomb dogs, helicopters. That's all part of the fun they see in this. And
soon, Alan started swatting bigger targets: schools, churches, and military bases. He even sent SWAT teams to the homes of FBI agents and U.S. senators.
He's allegedly targeted Washington State, Texas, Florida, and Maryland.
Despite their best efforts, the police couldn't catch him. Fillion loved the chaos he created. Soon, he wanted to take things to the next level. He decided to sell his services online. With each successful swatting call, Fillion felt more untouchable, so he wanted to make money from his skills. He created a Telegram channel called Tour Swats, offering his swatting services for hire. For $40, he would report a fire or gas leak. He charged $50 for a major police response, and for $75, he would report something much worse. Fillion even offered returning customers a discount. To attract more customers, he made posts bragging about his swatting skills. In a post in January 2023, Fillion claimed that when he swats someone, he usually gets the cops to drag the victim and their families out of the house, cuff them, and search the house for bodies. Fillion didn't care that his actions could ruin lives. He was planning to do it hundreds more times. For nearly 2 years, Fillion stayed one step ahead of the law. During that time, he made more than 375 swatting and threatening hoax calls. But behind the scenes, law enforcement was close to discovering his identity. The FBI launched a national database to track swatting calls, helping hundreds of police departments share information. They also monitored the Telegram channel where he sold his swatting services and linked it to his usernames on YouTube and Discord. Eventually, the trail led straight to Fillion's home in Lancaster, California. In January 2024, the police raided Fillion's home and found electronic devices loaded with evidence, chat logs, recordings, and everything they needed to prove he was behind the swatting spree.
He may be one of the most active and dangerous swatting suspects, in fact, in U.S. history. The 17-year-old is accused in hundreds of so-called swatting cases across the country.
Fillion was arrested and sent back to Florida. In court, he pleaded guilty to the charges against him.
The now 17-year-old is charged with 3 felonies in Seminole County, Florida, appearing before a judge charged as an adult on Wednesday.
Each charge against them carried a maximum sentence of 5 years. If convicted, Fillion could spend decades behind bars. This next case is about a guy who talked himself into handcuffs. Peter Gamblin. When Peter Gamblin was 16, he won a national pool tournament. But by 24, he was in the news for something else, being incredibly stupid. It started when Peter decided to rob someone. His victim was just walking down the street talking on the phone. Peter jumped the man, stealing his wallet and phone. But Peter didn't realize someone was still listening. The victim was on a call when the attack happened. The person on the other end, Joe Dale, heard everything. He even heard someone say, "Give me money," before the phone went dead. Joe was worried about his friend, so he called back. Here's the crazy part. The phone was now with the robber, Peter, and the stolen phone started ringing, but instead of ignoring it, Peter answered. That's right, he answered the mobile phone he had just stolen. Joe realized he was talking to the guy who robbed his friend. The two started arguing. Voices were raised, insults were thrown, and Peter, the robber, got so mad he challenged Joe to a fight. Then he made it even worse. He gave Joe his nickname and home address. His exact words were, "My name is Gambo. If you want to make something of it, come to this address." Of course, Joe didn't go. He just forwarded the information to the cops. By the time Peter got home, the police were already there. They arrested him on the spot. In court, Peter tried to lie. He claimed he was at his sister's house during the robbery, but the jury didn't believe him. It took them 25 minutes to find him guilty. Peter was sent to jail for 3.5 years. He also became famous for his stupidity. He was a guy who answered a stolen phone and gave his name and address. This next story started with TikTok but ended in tragedy. The dark obsession. Eric Rowan Justin was barely 18 when he found himself on the wrong side of the law. And he's on the list because his obsession started before the age of 18. Eric wasn't a scammer or hacker. His journey into crime began with something harmless, scrolling on TikTok. In early 2020, Eric was watching videos on TikTok when he stumbled upon Ava Majuri's page.
This teen soared to fame lip-syncing and dancing on TikTok. Her upbeat message, "Hey, I love you."
Ava Majuri was a rising star on TikTok with 1.2 million followers and 57 million likes across all her videos. When Eric saw Ava, it was love, or something like it at first sight. He binge-watched every one of her videos, but just watching her content wasn't enough. Eric didn't just want to be a fan, he wanted to be part of her life. Eric started following Ava on other social media platforms, including Snapchat and Instagram. He sent her messages, and to his surprise, Ava replied. Slowly, he worked his way into her online world. He even played online games with Ava and her brothers. But Eric's interest quickly spiraled into something darker. He became obsessed. He began texting and calling Ava constantly. At first, it was mildly irritating, but Ava tolerated him. Eric even offered to buy Ava's selfies, $300 for 2 photos. Ava, after consulting her parents, reluctantly agreed. She sold him 2 photos of just her face. Eric saw this as a small victory, so he pushed his luck. He asked for more photos, but this time it wasn't just her face he wanted. He demanded explicit photos. That was the last straw. Ava blocked him on all her social media.
I got to the point where it was kind of taking a bad turn that just got creepier and creepier as time went on.
She thought Eric was just a creep, but he was something far worse. He was a stalker, and things were about to get serious. Eric was crushed when Ava blocked him, but instead of backing off, it made him even more desperate. So Eric tried another tactic. He started contacting Ava's classmates, offering money for any information they had about her. Some of them agreed, selling him photos, her phone number, and even her home address. Weeks went by, and Eric's obsession turned into anger. Now he wanted to force him back into Ava's life, no matter the cost. Eric told one of Ava's classmates that he planned to visit Ava's home and break through the door. The classmate told Ava what Eric said, and the Majuri family began to understand the threat was real. Still, they hoped it was just all talk, but they were about to realize just how serious he was. July 10th, 2021. That morning, Eric traveled from Maryland to Naples, Florida, where Ava lived. But he wasn't heading to her house to talk. When Eric arrived, he blasted a hole through the front door of the Majuri home. Ava and her family were inside and they tried to hide, but Ava's dad, Rob, was a former police officer.
Ava's father, Rob Majuri, is a retired police lieutenant from New Jersey. He sprang into action.
Rob grabbed his firearm and stood guard at the family's front door. He warned Eric to back off, but Eric kept moving forward. Ava's dad retaliated back. Eric didn't make it.
I was able to neutralize the threat at that point.
When police arrived, they searched Eric's body and found 2 phones on him. The phones contained thousands of pictures and videos of Ava, which was proof of his obsession. Eric's obsession pushed him to commit several crimes, including stalking, trespassing, and assault. After the incident, Ava's family moved and she started homeschooling. In the end, Ava's dad, Rob Majuri, wasn't charged. The authorities ruled that he acted in self-defense to protect his family. A few years ago, no one could have imagined this next crime, but now because of AI, it's become a reality. The failed musician. This guy might be a genius, but criminal genius is probably a better way to describe him. His name is Michael Smith, and he invented a whole new type of crime, using AI to steal millions of dollars from the music industry. And he did it all without leaving his bedroom. Michael Smith didn't start out as a criminal. For most of his life, he was a regular, law-abiding guy. He was actually a musician, but when he reached his late 40s, he started to feel frustrated. Despite his talent and hard work, he still wasn't a famous musician. On top of that, he was broke. Then in 2017, he came up with a brilliant plan to make millions off of music, whether he was famous or not. The only problem was that his brilliant plan was against the law. To pull it off, Michael teamed up with 2 partners, a music promoter and the CEO of an AI music company. He told them about his plan, explaining how it could bring them over $1.2 million a year. Michael's idea was to create tons of songs and upload them to streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, hoping to make money from all of the plays. But instead of using real musicians, he would use AI to make the songs. It seemed like the perfect crime, and they got to work. Before long, they were churning out dozens of songs every day. In their emails to each other, they called it instant music. The plan had 3 steps. First, AI created strange songs with odd file names. Next, Michael uploaded these songs to Spotify and Apple Music, but he changed their titles to some pretty weird words. The AI songs sucked, so he created thousands of fake bot accounts to listen to these songs over and over, making it seem like real people were enjoying the music.
And they created thousands of bots, and these bots are just programs that are designed to just run in the background and play these pieces of music.
Michael knew that if a single song were to be streamed 1 billion times, it would raise suspicions among the streaming platforms. So he spread his automated streams across thousands of songs. He created software to stream his songs to different computers, making it appear that listeners were tuning in from different locations. The bots rotated between songs and listened at different times of the day, making everything seem more believable. Michael created as many as 10,000 streaming accounts using email addresses he purchased online. He even hired assistants to help manage all the bots. Since platforms like Spotify and Apple Music pay artists for each play, the more streams his AI songs got, the more he earned. Everything was going perfectly, but that was about to change. In October 2018, less than a year after they started, a streaming platform gave Michael some bad news. They said they received multiple reports of streaming abuse and were considering removing his songs. By this time, Michael already made close to $1 million. This would have been the perfect time to quit before getting caught. But instead, Michael doubled down. He messaged the streaming platform saying, "This is absolutely wrong and crazy. There's no fraud here whatsoever. How can I appeal this?" He was so convincing that the streaming service backed down and kept his songs up. From 2017 to 2024, Michael's AI songs generated over 4 billion streams and $12 million in royalties. However, the streaming platforms still had their eye on him. They knew something fishy was going on, but they couldn't prove it yet. As AI technology improved, streaming platforms started using their own AI tools to detect bots and fake streams. By September 2024, they gathered enough evidence to prove that Michael was running a scam with AI music. By this time, they didn't send him an email to kick him off the platform. Instead, they called the FBI.
As FBI agents raided a Cornelius man's home, He's a musician, now facing serious charges.
When we got here, FBI agents were in the driveway of Smith's home on Wildair Drive.
Michael was arrested and charged with 3 counts of wire fraud conspiracy, and money laundering conspiracy. Each charge carries a maximum of 20 years in prison, which could mean up to 60 years behind bars. Michael Smith's case is still happening at the time of this recording. If he's convicted, he could spend the rest of his life behind bars. But at least he made history.
This is the first criminal case involving AI in music streaming fraud.
This next story is about a kid who turned out to be a criminal mastermind. The boy who hacked GTA 6. Arian Kurtaj was the last person you would expect to turn criminal. He had autism and ADHD, which made his school and social life a constant struggle. His doctor once said Arian operated at the level of 1% of his peers. But Arian had a secret weapon, an incredible ability to understand computers. By age 14, he could crack passwords, bypass security, and hack like a pro. Then he did one thing that took him from computer prodigy to criminal. He joined a hacking gang.
FBI San Francisco says a hacking group called Lapsus came on the scene in January 2022 and has been stealing companies' data, threatening to leak it unless the company pays a ransom in Bitcoin.
The gang was called Lapsus, and they had one goal: hack big companies, steal their data, and demand ransom. And they went after the world's biggest companies.
Lapsus, throughout its actual involvement, some of these hackers were involved with hacking Uber, Nvidia, and the amount of damages they ended up causing was around $10 million US.
With Arian on board, Lapsus became bolder than ever. But although Arian was a great hacker, he was bad at covering his tracks. Soon, law enforcement linked Lapsus's hacks to Arian Kurtaj's IP address. In January 2022, police raided his home and arrested him. It seemed like the end of the road for Arian. But in reality, his story was just beginning. Arian wasn't locked up for long. Within days, he was released on bail while police built their case. Most people on bail would have tried to stay out of trouble, but Arian wasn't like most people. As soon as he walked out, he went back to hacking with Lapsus. This time, their target was Nvidia, the multi-billion-dollar company that produced computer chips. Arian dove into the operation, eager to prove himself. But not everyone was happy to see him back in action. Arian's fellow hackers couldn't stand him. They thought he was arrogant and rude, always acting like he was smarter than everyone else. His rivals were waiting for the perfect moment to take him down. Now they saw their chance. Normally hackers don't snitch on each other, but Arian was an exception. Rival hackers doxed Arian, posting his and his family's contact details online. They even posted pictures and videos of him on social media. Being doxed put Arian in danger. Now anyone with a grudge could now find him. His life was in danger. Around that same time, London police figured out that Arian was involved in the hack on Nvidia, so they arrested him again in March 2022. But this time, things were different. Because Arian had been doxed, keeping him in regular detention wasn't safe. So the police had to keep him in a Travelodge hotel in Bicester, England. The cops also seized Arian's laptop and banned him from using the internet. Once again, it seemed his hacking days were finally over, but he wasn't ready to give up yet. Even locked in a hotel room under police watch, Arian found a way to hack again.
They were kept in like a Travelodge hotel. This individual grabbed an Amazon Fire Stick, a television set, and a cell phone, and decided to commit one of their biggest hacks through sheer cyber MacGyverism.
Although he didn't have a laptop, Arian somehow connected an Amazon Fire Stick, a smartphone, a keyboard, and a mouse to the TV in the hotel room. Then he got back to hacking right under the noses of the police. This time, Arian set his sights on Rockstar Games. Once he got into their system, he stole all the data for Grand Theft Auto 6, one of the most hyped games in the world. Then he gave Rockstar a chilling ultimatum. If Rockstar doesn't contact me on Telegram within 24 hours, I will start releasing the source code. To prove he wasn't bluffing, he uploaded 90 clips of unfinished gameplay online. The internet exploded and everyone scrambled to figure out who was behind the hack. No one guessed it was a teenager locked in a hotel room under police protection. The police didn't even think that Kurtaj was behind the Rockstar hack at first, but they searched his hotel room just to be sure. When they burst in, they caught Arian red-handed. arrested using the hotel's TV, an Amazon Fire Stick, and a keyboard to hack. They were furious. Arian was rearrested and kept far away from anything he could turn into a hacking tool. Eventually, he got his day in court, but this case wasn't a normal one. The jury found him guilty of several crimes, including blackmail and fraud connected to his work with Lapsus. But because of his severe autism, the court only focused on whether he committed the crimes, not his intentions. In December 2023, Arian was sentenced to indefinite detention in a hospital prison. He'll remain there until experts believe he's no longer a threat to the public. This next crook was caught because he fell asleep. Literally. Mark Smith. Most thieves break in, steal what they can, and get out fast. But when Mark Smith broke in, he passed out under a bed. It happened in Whitley Bay, England. A woman was at home when Mark quietly slipped inside. He had a steel bar on him just in case things got ugly. Luckily, she didn't see or hear him. Mark headed straight to her bedroom. He found a jewelry box and grabbed some gold earrings. But something was wrong. His eyes were heavy, his body was shutting down, and it was all his fault. Turns out, Mark took a mix of substances earlier that morning. It was now kicking in. He could barely stand. He needed to lie down. But instead of leaving, Mark did something no thief has ever done. He crawled under the bed and took a nap. He took a nap in the house he was robbing, all while the homeowner was still in the house. A few minutes later, she walked into her bedroom and froze. There were legs sticking out from under the bed. First, she screamed, but the burglar didn't move. Then she shook him and yelled. Still no response. That's when she called the cops. But even the police couldn't wake him up. Mark was completely knocked out. They had to drag him out by the legs. And he was still clutching a stolen pair of gold earrings. Mark Smith was arrested and taken to court. Turns out he already had a record of robbery, theft, and drunkenness. But this was his first time breaking into someone's home. The judge gave him 18 months in jail. And Mark left with an important lesson. If you're gonna be a criminal, at least stay awake. Up next is a criminal who live streamed everything, including their own arrest. The meltdown of a crypto creator. Ben Armstrong is a well-known crypto influencer and also former host of the popular YouTube channel BitBoy Crypto, which he ran with Cassie Wolf. He was very well established in the crypto community and even had his own cryptocurrency named after him called BenCoin. With a flourishing YouTube career and a growing community of fans, things were going great for Ben. However, he would throw it all away in just 37 minutes with a live stream that would change the course of his life forever. On September 25th, 2023, Ben went to his Twitter to post this special announcement. The tweet said, "I'll be going live soon from a very special location on YouTube, so get ready, this is going to be good." At the time, fans didn't think too much about it. Content creators made posts like this all the time, and they were likely under the assumption that he was going to reveal a new project or another altcoin. But when the viewers found out what this very special location was, they were completely caught off guard. The special location that Ben mentioned was the home of his former business partner, Carlos Diaz. Ben and Carlos have worked on several business ventures together, none of which have taken off. Not much is known about these projects, but with what Ben did next, it was obvious that the relationship ended on a bad note. During the live stream, Ben made several claims that Carlos had ties to the Houston Mafia and made a bunch of other defamatory remarks about him. He even claimed that Carlos had stolen his Lamborghini, which is why he was currently outside his house. He wanted that Lamborghini back. When fans questioned his actions, Ben defended himself by saying that Carlos had been manipulating him to the point where he couldn't take it any longer. He had to take a stand.
Man who death threatened me took my Lamborghini. This is who you're with.
Already, there were a few holes in his story. He said that upon arriving at Carlos's house, he tried to confront Carlos directly, but Carlos ran away.
I go knock on the door, and you know what he does? He turns and he runs.
However, the doorbell camera footage told a different story.
He shows up, goes to the door, rings the doorbell, and then does this.
For the first half of the stream, Ben can be seen erratically ranting at the camera, all while claiming that he was completely fine mentally. He stated that what he was doing was not out of paranoia or because he was crazy, but because it was necessary. At one point, Ben even tells the stream that someone texted him saying that they were going to call the police.
Somebody just texted me, said they're going to call the cops. I will really enjoy the cops coming here. I really enjoy it.
At around the 19-minute mark of the stream, police arrived on the scene. The first thing that they did was question Ben, asking if he had anything dangerous on him. Ben responded that there was nothing on him, but there was something in his car.
Stop. Oh, stop. I couldn't hear.
You have a weapon on you?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
So...
I have one in my vehicle, but I do not have a weapon on me.
When the police went to investigate his car, they found that there was another person inside the vehicle. That person was Cassie Wolf, who was the co-founder of BitBoy Crypto. The live stream caught Ben having an affair with this woman. Just 1 minute into Ben's conversation with the police, the officers turned the camera face down, leaving the viewers to stare at a black screen. Through the audio, you can hear Ben trying to explain the entire situation from his point of view to the police, but to no avail. Eventually, he got arrested for loitering and simple assault by inducing fear in another. His next criminal was a kid who was dangerously smart. The CIA hack. If you Google the name Kane Gamble, you'll see him described as a cyber terrorist and hacker. But Kane wasn't your typical hacker. He didn't spend hours writing code or cracking into firewalls. His real weapon was something much simpler: his voice. Kane was a genius at something called social engineering. Social engineering is about tricking people into giving away sensitive information like passwords or security codes without them even realizing it.
But hackers can be very socially smart. They can call up a company and convince the company to give them details they normally wouldn't do.
Instead of hacking into computers, social engineering is about hacking people. Kane knew a security system is only as secure as the humans running it, and humans can be fooled. But how exactly did a teenager like Kane use social engineering to become one of the world's most notorious criminals? Kane Gamble grew up in a small town in England. He was incredibly intelligent. He also had autism, which reportedly made it harder for him to understand right from wrong. Kane had a very black and white view of the world, seeing it more as a video game with goodies and baddies. Around 2015, when he was about 15, Kane started a hacking group called Crackers with Attitude, or CWA. They weren't hacking for money or fame. They wanted to fight what they considered injustice in the world. One of their first targets was one of the most powerful men in America, the director of the CIA. Hacking the director of the CIA started with a simple phone call. Kane knew John Brennan, the director of the CIA, had an AOL email account, so he picked up the phone and called AOL's customer support. Pretending to be Brennan, Kane said something like, "Hi, I'm John Brennan. I'm locked out of my account. I think I've forgotten my password." The customer service rep, eager to help, asked Kane a few questions to confirm his identity. But Kane was ready for this. He knew enough about Brennan to answer every question without hesitation.
Now there's a wealth of data online, so they got a lot of data about the CIA director online.
In just a few minutes, the rep reset the password and handed it over to Kane. This teenager now had access to everything: the CIA director's emails, iCloud, and even secret government documents.
It was this combination of actually getting on the phone and calling and pretending that was actually kind of the game changer for them, not necessarily the hardcore hacking.
But stealing the information wasn't enough for Kane. He wanted to rub it in. He called the CIA director directly, laughing and bragging about how he hacked him. Then, to make matters worse, he leaked some of Brennan's private emails and documents online for the world to see. With that move, Kane made an enemy of one of the most powerful men in the world. But Kane's hacking spree didn't end with the CIA boss. He went after more high-profile targets.
Gamble targeted the FBI too. He tried to hack the agency's portal and its deputy director, Mark Giuliano, as well as a special agent called Amy Hess.
Kane even hacked FBI systems and leaked details of 20,000 FBI employees online, putting them in danger.
But he knew he was putting lives at risk. He talked about that online after releasing an FBI staff list and describing it as the biggest hack ever.
He created an anonymous Twitter account under the name Kraka. Anytime he hacked or stole data, he would tweet about it. When he wasn't bragging about his crimes, he was mocking the authorities and daring them to catch him. But his cocky attitude would eventually be his downfall. As Kane Gamble continued his attacks, both US and UK authorities worked non-stop to track him down. Every time he hacked or bragged about his crimes online, he left behind digital clues, and investigators were closing in fast. In February 2017, British police raided his home. They expected to find an experienced hacker running a major operation. Instead, they found a teenager sitting at his mom's computer.
A Leicestershire teenager hijacked the computers of several US intelligence and security chiefs.
When the case went to court, prosecutors didn't hold back. They called his actions cyber terrorism, pointing out how he'd disrupted critical US government operations. But despite the chaos he caused, Cain got off with a surprisingly light punishment, partially because he had autism.
Socially, he was still very immature, and he told one expert that he did this because it was kind of easy and didn't think he was hurting anyone.
Since he was still a minor when he committed the crimes, the court sentenced him to just 2 years at a youth detention center. The criminal in this next case was an influencer who kept pushing the boundaries. Inside the viral kidnapping victim prank. Natalie Reynolds is a content creator with over 4.5 million subscribers on YouTube, 2.4 million on TikTok, and 355,000 followers on Instagram. She rose to fame when she and her ex-boyfriend Zachary Hulsman created several joint couple social media accounts under the username Nat and Zach. But the two have since broken up, with Natalie taking over all the accounts and rebranding them as her own. Although Natalie already has a pretty big following on social media, recently all her efforts have been going toward her growing Kick channel, which has 13,000 followers. Natalie tried to be different on the platform by streaming a wide variety of pranks, usually pretty out there content, some of which landed her in some serious controversy. In December of 2023, Natalie went live on her Kick channel with a brand new prank, one that pushed the boundaries of what was okay when it comes to content. The prank was that she would drive around town in a white van trying to hand out candy to children.
You want some free candy?
Many of the parents were not pleased with this prank and even openly expressed that to her face during the stream. But to make matters worse, Natalie would approach actual families and point them in the direction of her van, telling the kids that there was candy inside.
Does anybody want free candy? You want free candy? Does anybody want free candy? No? They want free candy. This is your once in a lifetime opportunity to get something for free. Come on in. Here.
When they got in the van, what they saw was enough to scare the kids and adults. As the stream went on, Natalie and her friends continued to drive around the streets of Miami in their van looking for more people to prank. But it seemed that their prank escalated way too far because the locals ended up calling the police to report the van as suspicious. When officers arrived on the scene, they were quick to demand everyone in the vehicle to get out and have their hands up. The officers were clearly on high alert given the nature of the situation and the possible crime that could have been happening. The stream then ends suddenly as the camera falls to the ground just as Natalie and her companions were being forced out of the vehicle and onto the ground. The clip soon went viral online, with many people, particularly on X, criticizing Natalie for this poorly executed social experiment. And while Natalie's charges have not been confirmed, she's since returned to streaming on Kick and making content for her other social media pages. This next crime was so smooth no one caught on until $25 million was gone. The $25 million mistake. In February 2024, a company called Arab was hit by one of the most advanced AI crimes ever. Many other companies have been victims of AI attacks, but this particular heist was so incredible that it made headlines around the world. But out of all the companies in the world, why did these AI criminals go after Arab? Arab is an engineering firm with multi-million-dollar projects around the globe. Despite being a well-organized company, Arab had one major weakness. Its offices were spread across the world. By 2023, Arab Group had 94 offices in 34 countries, a fact that they were proud to share on their website. Little did they know, being so spread out would make them an easy target for AI conmen. It was a regular day in February 2024. An accountant in Arab's Hong Kong office received an email from the company's chief financial officer based in the UK. But as soon as the accountant read the message, he thought it was a scam. The email asked him to secretly transfer millions of dollars from the company account into several other bank accounts. He didn't believe that Arab's chief financial officer would send such a strange request. However, it seemed like it was legit because the email also asked him to join a video call with the CFO. He was about to see and talk to the person who wanted him to move all that money. When the video call began, he saw the CFO and several familiar faces from the UK office. The CFO wasted no time explaining that they needed to send a large sum of money immediately for a secret deal. The CFO warned them that if they didn't act quickly, quickly the company could be in serious trouble. Everyone else on the call nodded in agreement, which made it feel even more urgent. Trusting what they saw and heard, the Hong Kong accountant decided to follow their instructions. With a few clicks, he transferred 200 million Hong Kong dollars, which is about 25.6 million US dollars, out of the company's account to 5 different Hong Kong bank accounts. Most importantly, he transferred the money without telling anyone else because they told him it was a secret transaction. But what the accountant didn't know was that the chief financial officer that he spoke to on the video call wasn't real. It was a deepfake. In fact, everyone else on the video call was a deepfake too. A week later, Arab found out $25 million had gone missing from their Hong Kong account. When they asked the accountant why he transferred the money, he simply said the CFO ordered him to do it. It didn't take long for everyone to realize the accountant had been duped. But by then it was too late. The money was gone.
I like to imagine the reactions of all the chiefs of the company when they hear that this guy just authorized $26 million to Mr. Bombastically in the Bahamas.
When word got out about the crime, people were stunned. The big question everyone had was, how did the accountant not notice that the CFO on the video call was a deepfake? The truth is that some deepfakes are a lot more realistic than most people think, especially for people who aren't keeping up with technology. Deepfakes don't just copy faces and voices, it can even imitate mannerisms. In this case, the deepfake was so realistic that even the accountant who'd spoken with the real CFO many times couldn't tell the difference. The other people on the video call looked and sounded just like his actual coworkers.
This is real-time back and forth. This is an escalation of the technology that we've already come to fear. Now we have a reason to fear it even more.
Once they reported it to the police, news outlets picked up on it fast. The criminals behind this huge heist have not been caught yet. As deepfake technology gets even more advanced, my friends, this is just the beginning. This next guy probably made the dumbest mistake a burglar can ever make. Derek Koch. In 2008, Derek Koch walked into a small convenience store, but he wasn't there to buy snacks. He had a plan. The place was quiet, no witnesses, no cops. Derek waited until the coast was clear. Then he pulled out a pew-pew and pointed it at the clerk. Derek had 2 demands. He wanted cash and cigarettes, and he was ready to shoot if he didn't get them. The clerk didn't argue. She stuffed the bag with everything he asked for. Derek was feeling powerful, cocky. He yelled, "Damn straight." The clerk turned around to grab the cigarettes. Suddenly, she heard a loud bang. For a second, she thought she was hit, but she wasn't. That's when she turned around to face the robber. But he was no longer standing tall. He was hunched over, groaning. His hands were around his legs. Then she understood what happened. The robber Derek accidentally shot himself in his private parts. What happened was he tried to tuck the weapon into his pants, but he forgot to turn the safety on and accidentally pull the trigger. And then, bang. The whole thing was captured on the store's surveillance camera. But even after that mistake, Derek didn't give up. He grabbed the bag and ran out. He limped down the street, leaving a red trail behind him. The store clerk called the cops. They showed up, and it wasn't hard to track down the robber. They just followed the red trail. They found Derek at his grandma's house. He needed urgent medical attention. Cops rushed him to the emergency room. Doctors saved his life, but they couldn't save him from what came next. He was going to jail. Derek was charged with armed robbery, criminal recklessness, and battery. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison. When he got out, reporters were waiting. They wanted to interview the robber who blew his jewels off. There were so many headlines about it. In an interview, Derek said it was shameful and embarrassing, and I think anyone with a good heart would feel that way about it. Today, Derek is remembered as one of the dumbest criminals ever. The victim in this next crime was framed using AI. A disturbing recording. A disturbing AI crime occurred in the last place you'd expect, a high school. On January 16th, 2024, 3 teachers from Pikesville High School received a mysterious email from an unknown sender. Most people don't open emails from strangers, but this one had a subject line that was impossible to ignore. Pikesville Principal Disturbing Recording. Attached to the email was an audio file, and when each teacher played the audio, their jaw hit the floor. The voice in the audio was unmistakable. It belonged to their boss, Pikeville High's principal, Eric Eisworth. In the recording, the principal was making inappropriate comments about black people, saying stuff like black students couldn't test their way out of a paper bag.
You know, I seriously don't understand why I have to constantly put up with these dumb here every day.
In the same audio, the principal also made disparaging comments about Jewish people and mentioned the names of staff members who should have never been hired.
Lawrence and Ravenel should have never been hired. And don't let me get started on DJ. I'm gonna drag his out of here one way or another.
It didn't take long for this recording to spread. Soon, other teachers heard it, then students and parents. Somehow, the audio made its way onto social media and it went viral, shared over 27,000 times. The school district immediately suspended the principal and launched an investigation into the matter. But that wasn't enough to calm people down.
It was really uncomfortable. It's like the environment at the school just starts to feel hostile more and more every day as I'm here.
Folks in the community were so angry they tried to get physical with the principal. Others even sent him death threats. Eventually, police officers had to be stationed outside of Principal Eisworth's house to protect him from the angry crowds. It wasn't long before the story spread to the media, turning this high school scandal into national news.
Folks, the Baltimore County Public School System is investigating the principal at Pikesville High School for allegedly making derogatory comments about black students, staff, and Jewish folk.
And what's very unfortunate for him, he's probably going to be out of his job.
But there was something about this case that didn't add up. Principal Eisworth insisted that the recording was fake. He swore he never said any of those things. Unfortunately, no one in the community believed him. The voice in the recording sounded exactly like his, and he was talking about the people he worked with. Even the principal's closest friends thought it was real. There was nothing to suggest otherwise. However, the principal kept insisting the audio was fake and would not back down. Because he was so persistent, the school district investigating the case started to wonder if he was telling the truth. The principal would have to take a lie detector test. The authorities put him through the test and the results turned the entire case around. The results showed that Principal Eisworth did not make the statements on the audio. But this only made things more confusing. If the principal didn't say those things in the recording, then why did the voice in the audio sound exactly like his? Experts were brought in to study the audio and soon they had their answer. A forensic analysis revealed that the audio contained traces of AI-generated content with human editing after the fact. In other words, the recording was created using AI. Principal Eisworth was relieved. He would finally clear his name. But there was still something troubling him. The audio was fake. Everyone knew that by now. So who would make a fake recording to get their principal fired? When the school authorities realized someone was trying to frame the principal, they informed the cops and it became an official police investigation. The detectives on the case started by making a list of suspects. They asked themselves who would want the principal out of the picture. As they spoke to people in the community, one name kept coming up: Dazon Darien. If Principal Eisworth had an enemy, it would be this guy. Dazon Darien was the physical education teacher and athletic director at Pikesville High School. So technically, Principal Eisworth was his boss. However, Darien and Principal Eisworth did not get along. The teacher and principal argued multiple times and the tension between them kept building. Employees argue with their bosses all the time, so it was crazy to think Darien would make a fake AI audio to frame his boss. But a few days later, the detectives uncovered one piece of information that made Dazon the prime suspect. Here's what the cops found when they were looking into Darien. We know Darien and Principal Eisworth didn't see eye to eye, but they still worked together out of necessity. However, things between them went downhill when Darien made a big mistake. Remember, Darien was the school's athletic director in charge of managing the budget for PE activities. While going over the school accounts, Principal Eisworth noticed that Darien spent $1,916 of school funds to pay an assistant coach for the girls' soccer team. There was just one problem. The principal didn't even know the school had an assistant coach for the team. When he asked the girls' soccer team and their head coach, they confirmed there was no assistant coach at all. So who got paid as a supposed assistant coach? When Principal Eisworth investigated the name on the assistant coach's check, he discovered that the so-called coach was actually Darien's roommate. In other words, Darien and his roommate stole money from the school. If the principal reported the theft, Darien wouldn't just lose his job, he could be arrested. When the principal confronted him about it, Darien couldn't deny what he had done. Rumors spread that Darien's contract would not be renewed next semester. Darien was about to be fired and he knew it. Once detectives discovered Darien's motive, the rest of the case came together quickly. Investigators discovered that Darien used the school's internet multiple times to look up generative AI tools, including the day before the audio clip was sent. They traced the email that sent out the fake audio to an internet provider registered to Darien's grandmother. The recovery phone number on the email account had a 213 area code, which was registered to Darien himself. After seeing all the evidence, a judge approved an arrest warrant for Darien. But there was one last twist. Darien ran away to escape before the cops could arrest him. But Darien's time as a fugitive didn't last long. Just a day after the warrant was signed, Darian was arrested at the airport trying to board a flight out of state. He was slapped with multiple charges, including theft, retaliation against a witness, and stalking.
Mr. Darian, who was the athletic director at the high school, made the recording to retaliate against the principal who had launched an investigation into the potential mishandling of school funds.
The case against Dazon Darian is still going on as of the time of making this video, and he's probably gonna end up in jail. One careless decision can turn a good guy into a convict. This next story is a perfect example of that. A big mistake. Daniel Silva is a tattoo artist who's done work on celebrities like Trippie Redd, Ethan Dolan, and Jalen Ramsey. He was also a participant in the 10th season of the tattooing reality TV competition Ink Master, where he placed 7th in the finale. But at the time, Daniel wasn't best known for his work, but rather his crime. In 2020, the world was shocked and devastated to find out about the passing of beloved social media star Corey LaBerry. He was a vlogger who had been uploading videos on YouTube since 2016 and collaborated with popular YouTubers like David Dobrik. On May 10th, 2020, his 25th birthday, Corey was out celebrating for the occasion. He'd gotten way too intoxicated and decided to look for a designated driver to drive him home that night. So he turned to his friend Daniel Silva, who was capitalizing off of his newfound fame as an expert tattoo artist. He wanted to expand his content by also making videos on YouTube and currently has over 900,000 subscribers. At the time of Corey's birthday, Daniel was also under the influence and wasn't fit to drive. Yet, he still agreed, and Corey gave him the keys to his car so that he could take them both home. But sadly for Corey, he made the wrong choice.
The life of a YouTube reality star cut short, killed on his 25th birthday in a violent high-speed crash.
The two got into Corey's 2020 McLaren 600 LT and began the drive. But at around 9:40 p.m., Daniel lost control of the vehicle shortly after, sending it flying off the road. Daniel made it. Corey didn't. After the crash, Daniel attempted to evade police capture, trying to flee the scene, but was stopped by a passerby who tried to help out. When the police arrived, he was taken into custody and was held on a $200,000 bond. In July of 2020, Daniel was charged with murder, and he and his legal team were hard at work to get that changed. His original sentence was up to 4 years in state prison. But a month later, this was reduced, and the tattoo artist was sentenced to 365 days in a county jail, along with 250 hours of community service and 5 years of probation. It was later revealed that it was Corey's family that asked for these charges to be reduced. A few months later, Daniel broke his silence regarding the entire incident, issuing a formal apology to Corey's fans, family, and loved ones.
I want to start off by saying how sorry I am for all the pain that everybody's going through. I'm sorry to Corey. I'm sorry to Corey's friends and family, and I'm really sorry to Corey's fans.
As of March 2023, Daniel has returned to YouTube and uploads consistently. Daniel isn't hurting anyone anymore with his videos, but for other YouTubers, I cannot say the same. This next chapter is about a man who didn't set out to become a criminal. He became one by accident, or so he says. Ruben Pavon. In 2013, a store called Finders Keepers noticed something disturbing. Items from the store were going missing. Finders Keepers didn't sell brand new stuff. Everything they had was donated by the community. And when they sold stuff, they donated the money to charities for children and US troops. So when things started disappearing, it wasn't just stealing. It was stealing from people trying to do good. The thief was stealing donated items sitting outside on the porch. Luckily, the store had security cameras, so they checked the footage. And the thief was right there. Was a man named Ruben Pavon. One clip showed him casually walking up to the porch and grabbing a DVD player. In another clip, he came back. This time he brought his son. Together, they took off with a barbecue grill. They gave the footage to the cops. Ruben was arrested. It was an open and shut case. But when Ruben started talking, the case went from criminal to ridiculous. Ruben blamed the store for confusing him.
Ruben Pavon said he saw the name of Finders Keepers in Derry and presumed that the merchandise was anybody's to take away.
He took the name Finders Keepers literally. He figured they probably just put stuff out there for people to take, and he would have kept taking stuff if the cops didn't arrest him. But the owners of Finders Keepers didn't buy his excuse, especially because of how Ruben took the stuff.
I've never seen him in the store. He didn't appear to try to open the door to see if we were open, if anybody was there, if anybody was even there to help him load it, because the lights were off. So I assumed he knew that nobody was there.
They even posted about it on Facebook. This man who was caught on video is saying it is all a misunderstanding. He thought everything at our store was free. Is that really the best defense he could come up with? The case went viral online, and Ruben must have felt the pressure because he went on TV to prove he was not a bad person.
I just grabbed one. I thought it was there for the taking because the sign did say finders keepers.
He even explained why he didn't hide his face.
He even saw the camera that captured his image we showed you earlier this week.
In the end, Ruben gave everything back. That helped him avoid jail time. But it didn't save him from public shame. He became the guy who robbed a charity store because of its name. This next crime grabbed the world's attention as soon as it happened, and it was done by a 15-year-old. The boy who shut down the internet. In February 2000, the name Mafia Boy sent shockwaves across the internet. Most people thought he was part of an underground cyber terrorist group. Others said he was a dark web hacker trying to destroy the economy. The panic got so intense that US President Bill Clinton and the Attorney General announced a manhunt for Mafia Boy.
The FBI, the RCMP, they were all on the case.
But here's the twist. Mafia Boy wasn't some criminal mastermind. He was a 15-year-old kid messing around with an old computer in his bedroom. So what exactly did this kid do to become public enemy number one? Mafia Boy's real name was Michael Kelsey. He grew up in Montreal, Canada. When Michael was 6, he got his first computer for a pretty strange reason. Michael's parents divorced when he was young, so he spent time with his dad on the weekends. The problem was that his dad didn't know how to keep him entertained. So one day, his dad handed 6-year-old Michael a computer and told him to figure out what to do with it. Michael was hooked. He spent hours learning everything about computers. When he was 9, he got his hands on a free trial of AOL to surf the web. But when the 30-day trial ended, Michael wasn't ready to stop. Instead of paying for an AOL subscription, the 9-year-old hacked the system so he could stay online past the 30-day trial period. Hacking AOL for free internet was Michael's first taste of real hacking, but it wouldn't be the last. As Michael spent more time online, he stumbled onto the dark corners of the internet and found himself in underground hacker chat rooms. These forums were crawling with the world's most dangerous cyber criminals, all competing to prove who was the best. Michael soaked up all the knowledge he could, but he didn't just want to watch. He wanted to do something so big the entire hacking community would respect him. In the hacker world, respect came from pulling off bold, high-profile attacks. So in early 2000, Michael came up with a hack that was so big he knew it would make him a legend. He was going to shut down the internet. Michael Kelsey's big hack took place on February 7th, 2000. That day, he launched a cyber attack called a distributed denial of service or DDoS attack.
You can bombard a website with fake requests, and essentially those fake requests will overwhelm the website and it will actually refuse access to legitimate users trying to access the site.
Well, Michael wasn't interested in taking down just any website. He was going after the biggest ones in the world, sites run by multi-million-dollar companies.
Well, at the time, these companies were the most popular on the internet, and they yielded a lot of traffic. So if you really want to run a test and see how effective it is, you have to pick some of the big companies.
Michael's first target was Yahoo. At the time, Yahoo was the biggest search engine in the world, kind of like the Google of that era. Michael used a network of hacked computers to send an avalanche of data to Yahoo's servers. Within moments, the site crashed. Panic spread among Yahoo's team as they scrambled to figure out what was happening. Millions of people who were browsing the web with Yahoo suddenly couldn't access the site. But Michael wasn't finished. He wanted this stunt to be even more impressive. Over the next couple of days, he unleashed DDoS attacks on other internet giants, including Amazon, eBay, CNN, and Dell. One by one, these massive websites crashed.
Every day this week, major websites have been outmaneuvered and outmuscled by someone who wanted to take them down.
In the chaos, businesses lost millions of dollars and the US stock market began to fall apart. Mafia Boy's hacking spree reportedly caused $1.7 billion in financial damage. Billion.
Where I basically brought e-commerce to a halt, and I took out some of the biggest companies in the world.
While experts raced to uncover who was behind these attacks, Michael sat in his room watching news reports about the havoc he caused. He was thrilled.
It was more, so were you just showing off to go look what I can do?
For me, hacking was an exploring. It was an adventure to me. I wanted to see how far I could go.
But his victory wouldn't last long because the FBI made catching him their top priority. After crashing those websites, Michael, using the name Mafia Boy, went on online chat rooms bragging that he was responsible for the attacks. This was his first mistake. By claiming responsibility, Mafia Boy became the most famous hacker in America, but he also became the most wanted. Even the US president knew what Mafia Boy did.
President Bill Clinton held a special cybersecurity summit at the White House.
I think it was an alarm. I don't think it was Pearl Harbor.
The best detectives from the FBI and other agencies were on the case. They needed to uncover Mafia Boy's true identity. Law enforcement followed a trail of clues tracing the attacks to a network of hacked computers in a university. Eventually, those clues led straight to Michael's home in Montreal. About 3 months after the hack, police showed up at his front door.
Investigators of Montreal arrested Mafia Boy and conducted a search of his residence.
No one was shocked that Mafia Boy got caught, but they were stunned when they found out who he was. How could a 15-year-old beat America's biggest tech companies?
Turned out to be this guy, a 15-year-old kid from Montreal who called himself Mafia Boy.
In court, Michael was charged with more than 50 crimes. He confessed to everything. His main defense was that he never meant to cause so much damage. In September 2001, Michael was sentenced to 8 months in a youth detention center and a year of probation. He was also banned from freely using the internet during that time. Today, Michael turned his life around. He's now what's called a white hat hacker. Companies hire him to identify security flaws in their systems and design better security features. The boy who once shut down the internet is now being paid to protect it. Sometimes the worst partner in crime you can have is your best friend. The story is proof of that. Jonathan Ochola. Some criminals mess up during the crime. Jonathan Ochola messed up even before it started. In 2011, Jonathan and his friend Rashad planned a robbery. Their target was Ladbrokes, a betting shop in Portsmouth, England. Jonathan was the getaway driver. He waited in the car while Rashad went inside to do the job. Rashad stormed in, waved a fake pew-pew, and got away with £500, which is about $650. Then he dashed back to the car and they sped off. It looked like a clean job. Rashad even wore a mask to hide his face, but that mask ruined everything. Right after the robbery, Rashad ripped off the mask and tossed it away, but he left it near the crime scene, and it was covered with his DNA. Police found the mask and ran a DNA test, and just like that, they knew who it belonged to. Rashad was arrested, and he confessed everything. He even gave up his accomplice, Jonathan Ochola. Leaving a mask covered in your DNA is dumb, but somehow Jonathan did something even dumber. When police questioned Jonathan, he denied everything. He said he was at home watching TV during the crime, and there was no DNA linking him to it. It seemed he might walk free. Then the cops searched his house, and that's when they found Jonathan's diary. But something inside the diary made Jonathan Ochola the world's dumbest criminal. Inside, on the day of the robbery, he had written, "Go Portsmouth, robbery happens." He wrote down the time and place of the crime like a to-do list. It was basically a confession. When police showed him the note, Jonathan panicked. He changed his story. He admitted going to the shop with Rashad, but swore he didn't know about the robbery. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The judge didn't believe him. Jonathan was jailed for 3 years, Rashad for 2.5. And as a bonus, Jonathan became internet famous. He was the criminal foolish enough to write about his crime in his diary. This next story exposes one of the most disturbing AI crimes. My daughter is in danger. No one knows more about AI voice cloning than Jennifer DeStefano. She isn't a tech expert or a scientist, she's just a regular mom. But while most people have only heard about the dangers of AI voice cloning, Jennifer experienced it in a way she'll never forget. In April 2023, Jennifer DeStefano got a call from an unknown number. When she answered, she heard her daughter Bree crying and saying, "Mom, I messed up." Before Jennifer could respond, a man's voice cut in. He sounded mean and said, "Listen here, I've got your daughter. This is how it's going to go down. You call the police, you call anybody, I'm going to have my way with her and drop her off in Mexico." While the man was talking, Jennifer could still hear her daughter sobbing in the background. The kidnapper demanded a ransom of $1 million to release Bree. Like any parent, Jennifer would have paid anything to save her child, but she didn't have that kind of money. When she told the kidnapper she couldn't pay, he instantly reduced the ransom to $50,000. That's a 95% drop. He insisted he didn't want the money wired, he'd pick it up himself. The kidnapper hung up to give Jennifer time to get the money. But instead of gathering the cash, Jennifer did the one thing he told her not to do. She called the cops. However, Jennifer didn't have a reason to be worried. In fact, she didn't even need to bother the cops because her daughter was never in danger. The voice was a perfect AI-generated clone. After making a few calls, Jennifer realized that her daughter was safe. If she sent the money, she would have been yet another victim of the AI voice cloning scam. Jennifer's story caught the attention of her local news station, and she shared her experience with reporters. She explained, "It all just seemed so real. I never doubted for 1 second that it was her. That's the freaky part that really got me to my core. Even the crying on the call was perfect. It was exactly how her daughter would have cried." Luckily, Jennifer didn't lose any money, but the next couple wasn't so lucky. An elderly couple in Canada got a call from someone who sounded exactly like their son. Their son said he was in jail for being involved in a fatal car accident. Then he passed the phone to a lawyer who told him to send $21,000 for legal fees to get their son out of jail. Terrified and desperate to help, the couple sent the money through Bitcoin as instructed. But it was all a scam. They discovered the truth later that night when their real son called them. AI voice scams are scary because criminals only need 3 seconds of someone's voice to make a clone. They can easily get that from a YouTube clip, a podcast, or even a social media post. So it seems like they're not going to stop anytime soon. Up next is a crime driven by pure greed. Hugo Sanchez. Hugo Sanchez lived in England with his wife and 4 kids, but things were falling apart. By 2005, the couple was drowning in debt, so they came up with a crazy idea. Hugo would fake his own death. If they pulled it off, they could collect a massive life insurance payout. It was over $1 million, so they did it. Hugo and his wife took a vacation to Ecuador. Then Hugo's wife returned to the UK alone. She told everyone Hugo passed away from a heart attack and his body was cremated. She even had a fake death certificate to prove it. The documents were real enough to fool everyone, at least for a while. The insurance companies started paying out. With the money, Hugo and his wife moved to Australia with their kids. But insurance companies don't just hand over millions without checking. They hired a private investigator to verify. The investigator spoke to Hugo's friends and family, and some let it slip that Hugo was still alive. So investigators took another look at the death certificate, and that's when they found something insane. Hugo's fingerprints were on his death certificate, like he printed it himself or his certificate was handed to him. Now they knew he was alive. But Hugo and his wife no longer lived in the UK, so the cops had to wait. Finally, they had their chance. Hugo's wife flew back to England for her sister's wedding. As soon as she landed, she was arrested. She was jailed for 2 years. Hugo was still hiding in Australia, but not for long. He was arrested the next year and sent back to the UK. He got 5 years. They faked the death, lied to everyone, then moved across the world. But it all fell apart because Hugo couldn't keep his fingerprints off his death certificate. And today, Hugo is featured on a list of top 10 dumb crooks. This next guy started his life of crime at a very young age. Cosmo the God. When Eric Taylor was only 15, he was arrested by the FBI. At first, he tried to act like he hadn't done anything wrong, but the FBI had stacks of evidence against him. Eric Taylor wasn't just any teenager. On the internet, he went by the name Cosmo the God and was a member of a notorious hacking group called Eugene Nazi. Eugene Nazi terrorized the internet, committing credit card fraud, identity theft, and crashing websites. They even hacked Papa John's Pizza just because their delivery order was late. By mid-2012, the FBI had enough. They launched an international crackdown called Operation Card Shop, where they arrested 24 Eugene Nazi hackers in 13 different countries. Among those arrested was Eric Taylor, aka Cosmo the God. Cosmo thought he was going to jail for sure, but then the feds surprised him. Because he was only 15, Cosmo was given a plea deal instead of prison time. Part of the agreement was that he was banned from using the internet for the next 6 years until he turned 21. If Cosmo really needed to go online, maybe to research a school paper, he had to get permission from his parole officer. And even if he got approval, he had to be supervised the entire time he was online. If Cosmo broke any of the rules, he would be given a 3-year prison sentence. It was a deal meant to scare him straight, and for a little while it worked. A month. Cosmo tried to stay off the web, but the boredom was unbearable. Soon he convinced someone to send him a laptop. The moment he got his hands hands on it, the old Cosmo the God was back. This time he was going to cause far more chaos. When Cosmo got back online, his hacking adventures took a dark turn. He stumbled upon a site run by a very big Russian cybercrime group. The site sold stolen social security numbers, credit reports, and personal information belonging to millions of Americans, even celebrities and government officials. For most people, discovering something this sinister would be a cue to turn back. But not for Cosmo. He decided to hack the Russian site just to prove he could. Within days, Cosmo broke the site's defenses and downloaded the entire database.
So you hacked the Russian hackers?
Yes.
How did that feel?
I was 15 and it felt amazing.
Then, instead of lying low, Cosmo contacted the Russian criminals he had just hacked and blackmailed them with their information.
What were you thinking?
I had nothing to lose back then, to be honest. That's all I was thinking, was I had nothing to lose.
Instead of retaliating, the Russians were impressed that a kid hacked them, so they made a deal. They gave Cosmo free access to their site, including free credentials to buy social security numbers from them. With access to thousands of private records, including those of politicians, athletes, and celebrities, Cosmo could have kept it all to himself. But he chose a different path. Cosmo decided to leak it online for the world to see. Leaking social security numbers, home addresses, and credit information of famous people is incredibly dangerous. It exposes them to identity theft, harassment, financial ruin, and more. Cosmo knew exactly how much trouble his leaks could cause, but that only made him more eager to do it. First, he created a website to share the stolen data. He gave it a dark, sinister vibe, making it look like it was run by Russian hackers. To make sure people noticed, he anonymously reached out to a TMZ reporter to spread the word.
Like, I made the site seem like it came back to Russia, and the media published it as Russian hackers.
Every day, Taylor, aka Cosmo, would post social security numbers, home addresses, and even full credit reports on the internet for all to see. The data Cosmo released mostly belonged to famous people. He was having the time of his life, but his victims were freaking out as their personal details went public.
I wanted to make a name, but I also wanted to get a message out there.
What was the message?
That nobody's safe online.
However, these public figures had money and power, and they used their influence to pressure law enforcement to act. Soon, the FBI made it their main priority to catch the person behind the leaks. It didn't take long for FBI cyber experts to crack the case. Cosmo made the website with the leaked information look like it came from Russia, but the government figured out who was really behind the postings. The FBI traced everything back to a house in Long Beach, California. The house where Cosmo lived with his mom and grandma. When they realized it was the same teenager they banned from the internet 8 months earlier, they were furious. But they didn't want to give him a chance to escape. They wanted to catch him red-handed. In July 2013, Cosmo was hacking away in his bedroom when he received a call from his grandmother downstairs. She said someone was coming upstairs to see him. He figured it was just his probation officer checking in. He was wrong. Moments later, a SWAT team stormed into his bedroom.
Getting my door kicked down and flashbanged by over 30 to 40 Secret Service and FBI agents when I was 16.
This time it felt like the end. He blatantly broke the terms of his plea deal, and he was so sure the prison was next. But surprisingly, the court gave Cosmo one more chance. He was sentenced to 3 years probation. It was a shockingly light punishment, practically a miracle. Shaken up by the experience, Cosmo decided to change his life. In the years that followed, Cosmo joined a cybersecurity company.
Taylor is now 21, and he says he's turned his life around.
Today, Cosmo the God helps businesses defend themselves against the very kinds of attacks he used to launch. Up next is a story about a kid who robbed the bank and then bragged about it. The German bank robber. Being dumb is one thing, but being dumb and cocky is a recipe for disaster. A teenager in Germany learned that lesson the hard way. In 2010, a 19-year-old robbed a small bank. He threatened the staff, grabbed the cash, and escaped. He made it home without getting caught. Then he waited. The robbery was on the news. Police were on the case. He expected the cops to kick down his door any minute, but nothing happened. The minutes turned to hours. Hours turned to days. Days turned into a week. And still, the police had no suspects. That's when his ego exploded. He thought he was a criminal genius. He pulled off the perfect heist at 19, but instead of enjoying his freedom, he wanted to brag about it. A week after the robbery, he couldn't help himself. He sent emails. 1 to the police, 2 to local newspapers. In the emails, he mocked the police for getting his age, height, and accent wrong. Then he pointed out that he escaped in a car, not on foot. He was playing games with the cops, like a criminal genius. But the moment he sent those emails, he proved how dumb he was, because it's easy to find out who owns an email address. The cops traced the email back to him in no time. They knew his name and where he lived. He basically turned himself in. Days later, police arrested him in a gambling hall in Hamburg. When they put the cuffs on him, he was completely shocked. But the truth was simple. He wasn't caught because the cops were smart. He was caught because he was dumb. This next criminal was so dumb, he went viral. Anthony Garcia. Most people hide their crimes, but Anthony Garcia put his on display. He tattooed his crime on his chest. The crime happened in 2004. Someone took the life of John Juarez outside a liquor store. No one saw who did it, and the cops had no leads. Years passed and it became a cold case. For 4 years, nothing happened. Then, one dumb mistake revealed the culprit. In 2008, police stopped a man driving with a suspended license. His name was Anthony Garcia. It seemed like a simple traffic case, but 2 things made the officers take a second look. First, Garcia was linked to a gang called Rivera 13. Second, he had a massive tattoo. It stretched from his neck to his chest and from arm to arm. The cops had a rule. Whenever they arrested a gang member, they took pictures of their tattoos. So when they arrested Garcia, they snapped the photo. The tattoo photo went straight into the system. Weeks later, it landed on the desk of a detective, someone who worked for the Juarez case years earlier.
An investigator by the name of Kevin Lloyd was just flipping through pictures of gang members and, just taking a look at their tattoos.
When he saw Garcia's tattoo, his jaw dropped.
And then he looked at this gentleman's tattoo and realized, oh my God, this is the crime scene from that liquor store slaying.
The tattoo was like a snapshot of the crime scene.
So each key detail was right there. The Christmas lights that lined the roof of the liquor store, the direction his body fell, the borrowed street lamp across the way.
It even matched the trajectory of the bullets. It was so accurate that the detective called it a crime scene sketch and a confession. But the tattoo wasn't enough for a conviction. They needed a confession. So the cops came up with a plan. At that point, Garcia was still in jail just for the traffic stop. So they sent an undercover officer into his cell.
Pretending as if he was also a criminal. And he's like, hey dude, I like that tattoo. What's that about?
And just like they hoped, Garcia started talking.
And he's wired, right? He's recording everything. And Anthony Garcia admits everything.
He bragged about the shooting. He explained the tattoo. He gave details only the culprit would know. All of it was recorded. In October 2008, Garcia was officially charged with the murder. He thought the tattoo made him look tough. Instead, he tattooed his confession on his chest.
I was ready to declare him the world's dumbest guy for putting the crime scene on his chest. So he literally can't escape. They're but it's right there.
Up next was a teenage criminal who believed he was too smart to get caught. He was wrong. The boy who stole $24 million. Ellis Pinsky was just a teenager when people started calling him Baby Al Capone. You've probably heard of the real Al Capone, who was a ruthless gangster who ran a massive criminal empire back in the 1920s. The question is, what did this kid do to be compared to someone so dangerous? The crime that put Ellis Pinsky on the map happened in 2018 when he was just in 10th grade. What's crazy is the whole thing wasn't even his idea. It all started when 15-year-old Ellis got a job offer from someone named Harry. But this wasn't some ordinary job, it was illegal. Harry wanted Ellis to lead a team of hackers in pulling off a massive heist. The plan was to hack someone's phone and steal millions of dollars in cryptocurrency. To pull it off, they would use a technique called SIM swapping. SIM swapping happens when hackers trick a phone company into transferring someone's phone number to the hacker's own SIM card. The SIM swap allows hackers to intercept all calls, texts, and verification codes sent to that number. With that, they could break into the victims' accounts and steal their money. But SIM swapping is a federal crime in the US, and if they got caught, they would face years behind bars. The thought of jail would scare up most teenagers, but instead of walking away from this job, Ellis said yes. The plan began as soon as Ellis joined. The target was no ordinary person. His name was Michael Turpin, a multimillionaire known as the godfather of crypto. Turpin launched the world's first crypto investment firm, wrote a book teaching people how to get rich with Bitcoin, and reported reportedly had over $100 million in his crypto wallets. In summary, Turpin was one of the most powerful men in crypto and they were going to rob him. Ellis led the attack. First, the hackers bribed an AT&T employee to swap Turpin's SIM cards and settings. Once they had control of the phone number, Ellis then reset passwords and accessed Turpin's email accounts. Ellis scanned Turpin's emails and found a file named Passwords. When he opened the file, he discovered a whole list of private keys for wallets owned and controlled by Turpin. With just a few clicks, Ellis transferred about $24 million in crypto out of those wallets. The entire operation took only about 90 minutes. Before Turpin realized anything was wrong, the money was gone. For a while, Ellis thought he pulled off the perfect crime. After selling his share of the crypto, Ellis walked around with a designer wallet packed with $100 bills. He bought a $170,000 car and even took trips on private jets. Meanwhile, his parents and friends thought he was making money through trading Bitcoin and stock. But the perfect crime didn't stay perfect for long. At the time, Turpin's phone hack was one of the largest crypto hacks of its kind. Although Michael Turpin was worth hundreds of millions, losing $24 million wasn't something he could just shrug off. He was determined to get his money back. First, Turpin sued AT&T in 2018, accusing them of failing to prevent the attack. Then he launched his own investigation, teaming up with cybersecurity experts and law enforcement. It took over a year, but investigators eventually traced the crime to Ellis Pinsky. But Michael Turpin didn't just want his $24 million back. He wanted to embarrass the kid who stole from him. So in 2020, Turpin filed a lawsuit against Ellis, revealing his name to the world. The lawsuit accused Ellis of masterminding the attack and described him as an evil computer genius. Ellis's life unraveled as the case went public. Suddenly, he was front page news, the 15-year-old who stole $24 million in cryptocurrency. The case went to court and Turpin demanded his money back. But he wasn't going to get it because Ellis claimed that he already spent most of the cash. Ellis found himself a good lawyer, pleaded guilty to embezzlement, and returned 562 bitcoins, the Patek watch, and just under $100,000 in cash. Because Ellis was a minor at the time of the theft, the court went easy on him. In 2022, the court ordered Ellis to pay Turpin $22 million to settle the case, no matter how long it takes him to raise the money. Ellis went on to study computer science in college and is still on the hook to pay the $22 million. Up next is a crime that went viral and it was created with AI. Fake news. People always say seeing is believing, but in 2023, some viral photos made everyone question that. In March, photos showing President Donald Trump being arrested spread across social media. They exploded on Twitter, Instagram, and all over the internet. A lot of people thought the arrest was real until they found out it was all a lie.
Deep fake photos like these swirled around social media, seemingly showing the former president struggling with authorities.
Multiple TV networks confirmed that Trump wasn't arrested and that the photos were fake. AI experts noticed details like strange skin tones, blurry faces, and body parts that didn't look right.
They may look real, but none of them are.
It turned out that these photos were created using an AI tool called Midjourney. The fake images of President Trump caused so much chaos that Midjourney banned the person who made those images. Midjourney also stopped taking cues with the word Trump in it. While no one got jailed for the fake Trump images, a man in China wasn't so lucky when he tried to spread fake news. In 2023, news about a train crash in China went viral, claiming that 9 people lost their lives. The story was picked up by 20 different blogs in the country and soon had over 15,000 views. People who read it were panicking, worried about their families and friends. But overnight, everything changed. Chinese authorities stepped in and announced that the entire story was fake. There was no train crash, no deaths. It was all made up. But instead of feeling relieved that it wasn't true, the authorities were furious. China has strict rules for online information, including a law about AI-generated content. This law says any image, video, or text generated with AI must be clearly labeled as fake. The fake news about the train crash broke the law, and the police wanted to find and punish the person behind it. What started as a fake news story turned into a full police investigation. After some time, they traced the blog post back to a guy named Hong from Gansu. When they questioned him, Hong admitted admitted he used ChatGPT to create different versions of the fake story to bypass duplication checks. With this confession, Hong was arrested for concocting false information. The specific crime Hong was accused of, however, is picking quarrels and provoking trouble, which was punishable by up to 5 years in prison. This made him the first person in China to be arrested for using AI to create fake news. This next crime was designed to ruin the reputations of countless women. Horrible deepfake content. It's not every day the police show up at a school, especially to arrest a teenager. But in June 2024, that's what happened in Melbourne, Australia. In front of stunned classmates and teachers, the police put handcuffs on a student involved in one of the most disgusting AI crimes: inappropriate deepfake content. The boy was accused of using deepfake AI to create explicit photos with the faces of 50 female classmates. Parents who saw the photos described them as incredibly graphic. In this case, the school stopped the deepfake photos from spreading online, but not everyone is that lucky. Take Jody, for example. Her face was attached to so many explicit deepfakes that people started to think she was an adult star. Actually, what happened to Jody might be one of the worst cases of deepfake content. Jody was in her mid-20s when her deepfake nightmare began. In May 2020, she got a message from a friend saying that someone was sharing her pictures on Twitter and writing captions that suggested she was a hooker.
But the captions alongside her photos say that Jody wants to earn some extra money during lockdown, selling.
Jody checked the Twitter account that was pretending to be her and realized that the photos were taken from her Instagram page. That Twitter page also had photos taken from her friend Daisy's Instagram page. Jody and Daisy were determined to find out who was doing this. Since Jody's Instagram was private, they figured the person who stole the photos must be one of Jody's Instagram followers. The two friends made a list of all the men who followed both of them on social media.
Jody and Daisy go through a list of 50 men who follow them both. Narrowing it down, one person sticks out to them: Jody's ex-boyfriend.
Everyone who followed Jody was either a trusted friend or family member. The only person who might want to embarrass her was her ex. Enraged, Jody decided to confront him. She accused her ex-boyfriend of stealing her photos and posting them on the creepy Twitter account, but he swore he wasn't responsible. Jody couldn't get him to confess, but she still believed it was him, so she blocked him on Instagram. Blocking him meant he wouldn't be able to see or download her Instagram photos anymore. For a while, the creepy Twitter account stopped posting her photos and she thought it was all over. But she was wrong. A few months later, Jody received a strange email from an unknown sender. The subject line made her heart skip a beat. It read, "Someone is posting pics of you online. Sorry to remain anonymous," the email read, "but I saw this guy was posting pics of you on creepy subreddits. I know this must be really scary." The email also said that someone was asking if anyone could create deepfake adult content with Jody's pictures. In return for deepfakes of Jody, the person promised to share more personal photos of her. Jody was horrified, but worse news followed. 6 weeks later, the same emailer got in touch again, this time about the deepfakes. The mysterious emailer included a link so Jody could see her photos being used for fake adult content, but there was also a warning.
Huge trigger warning, because they contain lewd photoshopped images of you.
When she clicked the link, it opened a page filled with images of her doing intimate things, but none of it was real. Her face had been digitally added to someone else's body. But that wasn't the worst part. She realized the pictures being used in these deepfakes were from her recent Instagram posts. Jody knew her ex couldn't be behind it because he didn't have access to her new photos. She blamed the wrong person. But if it wasn't him, then who? Which of her Instagram followers was trying to turn her pictures into this type of content? As she flipped through the deepfakes, one photo caught her eye. This wasn't a photo she posted online. It wasn't anywhere on her social media. In fact, there was only one person apart from her who had this photo. It was a picture of her with King's College in the background, and she shared this photo with only one person. The man in the photo with her, her best friend, Alex Wolf.
I knew that it had been cropped, and that the person who was cropped out was my best friend, Alex.
Jody was stunned. She'd known Alex since they were teenagers. He was a loyal friend and someone she could count on. But now it was clear Alex betrayed her. Jody reported Alex to the police and he was arrested. Investigators found out that Alex downloaded images of 15 women and asked for their faces to be put on the bodies of women doing intimate tasks. He then posted these fake images on adult websites. Alex's sentence was 20 weeks in prison, suspended for 2 years, and he had to pay each victim stick them 100 pounds. Right now, inappropriate deepfake content makes up 98% of all deepfake videos online. Also, 1 in every 3 deepfake tools allows users to create deepfake images of anyone they want. The good news is that countries are making laws to stop the rise of this content. Like in October 2023, the UK made it a criminal offense to share inappropriate deepfake content. This next case is a serious one that takes us into the mind of a lunatic. The infamous incel. Arguably, the most infamous YouTubers turned criminal is Elliot Rodger, the man who took his hatred for those who rejected him to extreme lengths. Elliot Rodger had been diagnosed with various mental illnesses and disorders since he was just 8 years old. He received psychiatric treatments and saw therapists regularly, but refused to take any medication. From his childhood, Elliot struggled to make friends, often being the subject of bullying. So, like many kids in that sort of situation, he turned to the internet for comfort. There, he started up his online blog and YouTube channel where he openly talked about his struggles with loneliness, particularly when it came to romantic relationships. In real life, Elliot had trouble talking to women and never had a girlfriend before. As a result, he grew resentful of them. Through his content, his dislike for women was clear. He believed that his lack of success in getting into a relationship was not his fault, but rather theirs. And he built a whole online community of like-minded individuals in his subscriber base. On June 4th, 2011, Elliot moved to Isla Vista to attend Santa Barbara City College. But it didn't take long before he dropped out. He decided to still stay in the city even after leaving school, and this is where he started showing some red flags in his behavior. He became sort of infamous for being the culprit of several local incidents. He would throw drinks at couples or girls who didn't reciprocate his feelings. One time, he even filled a super soaker with orange juice just to spray it on a group of kickball players in the park. While those already showcased his terrible social behaviors and his mean spirit, this next incident was really what sent him spiraling out of control. On July 20th, 2013, he pushed several girls after he was supposedly ignored by them at a party. This incident is apparently what ignited Elliot's rage. Others had noticed what he was doing, and a group of men ended up roughing him up. According to Elliot, this was the event that led him into a downward spiral, ready to carry out his twisted manifesto. He dedicated all of his time to secretly pocketing money from his family and purchased a wide range of supplies for his plan. Previously, Elliot had already posted many videos on his YouTube channel, which all have since been deleted. His parents had grown concerned about these videos that they forced him to take them down and even reported them to the police. But nothing came out of that report, which is why Elliot was able to carry on and do what he did, a crime that would leave the world shocked. For months, Elliot had been writing a manifesto called My Twisted World, the story of Elliot Rodger. In this 107,000-word document, Elliot detailed his entire life from birth, explaining how he went from a happy and blissful kid to how he is today, all as a result of the cruelties of the world, particularly the women in it. One of the lines from his manifesto is as follows: "All I ever wanted was to fit in and live a happy life amongst humanity, but I was cast out and rejected, forced to endure an existence of loneliness and insignificance, all because the females of the human species were incapable of seeing the value in me." Then on May 23rd, 2014, his evil plan would come to life. It started with his roommates Hong and George Chen, along with their friend David Wang. All three of these were separate incidents at different times. At 9:17 p.m., Elliot uploaded a video on his YouTube channel titled Elliot Rodger's Retribution, where he talked about his thoughts, motives, and plan of action for enacting his revenge on the women who rejected him.
Tomorrow is the day of retribution, the day in which I will have my revenge against humanity, against all of you.
One of the final steps of his plan was to share his manifesto with the world. So Elliot emailed the document to 34 people, like his family members, his therapist, former teachers, and childhood friends. Once his manifesto and his last video were out into the world, he went to the Alpha Phi sorority house on the Santa Barbara campus. But when his knocks at the door went unanswered, scared, he turned to the members of the Delta 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 sorority nearby. After this, Elliot got back in his car so that he could continue this mission while on the move. Police, upon several 911 calls, arrived at the area and were on active lookout, and 4 officers even ran into him but let him go because they didn't suspect that he was the culprit, which turned out to be a fatal mistake. Elliot would continue his plan, getting into 2 encounters with the police. Near the tail end of the chase, the YouTuber would crash into a bicyclist, making it hard to run. So that's when Elliot ended the chase on his own terms. He was just 22 years old. This next case is also about a deeply disturbed individual. Dark fantasies brought to life. The anime community on YouTube has grown to be one of the biggest and most engaged on the platform. But back in the early days of the site, it wasn't always like that. One of the pioneers of this niche was a YouTuber by the name of Mr. Anime, or Trey Eric Sessler. Having joined back in 2006, Trey was considered one of the more popular content creators with over 1 million views on the channel, which was way more impressive back then. Before he pivoted his channel toward anime, he'd been known as Lens Caps Productions, and he would post content about his love for film and cinematography and even upload skits. But his channel started taking off when he began posting anime reviews.
This being the first episode and review, I kind of wanted to start kind of strong and get this one out of the way. So that's right, I'm probably doing an Iyasha.
He was one of the first ever creators to do anime reviews authentically on YouTube, and many people credit him with helping to kickstart that genre of video. But anime wasn't his only passion. It soon became obvious to viewers that Trey had other interests: firearms. As time went on, his new interests became a collection and would make more and more appearances on his channel. Throughout the years, Trey kept up with the anime uploads, but would diversify his content a bit by implementing combat-themed skits. At one point, he was even posting demonstration videos of his profound collection, telling his audience about each one's pros, cons, features, and major selling points. It became obvious to anyone watching that this wasn't just a casual hobby for him. His enthusiasm for this arsenal soon became a bit concerning as he started making rant videos talking about real-world incidents that involved them. His first rant came in 2009, which talked about Trey's stance on certain world events. But at this point, he hadn't been showing any red flags in terms of his interests. And in the rant, he specifically condemned those who use them recklessly, which reassured his viewers. From 2010 to 2012, Trey's collection would make more and more appearances on his channel, but nothing seemed to be cause for concern yet, because in his rant, Trey had openly said that he was against the misuse of them, so no one seemed to think that his opinions would change. But as time went on, it was obvious that Trey was developing other interests, ones that were dark and disturbing. Although many of his past anime reviews had been shows with dark themes, Trey had now started becoming fascinated with these themes in real life. He would research actual criminals, looking into their stories, their crimes, and their motivations, which sent him to a point of no return. His behavior started to change both on and off camera. Neighbors reported seeing him running around the neighborhood at night, firing off at empty buildings and businesses. Trey had begun taking on too much of a personal interest in the criminals he read about. He would spend hours studying what they did to take inspiration from their actions to devise his evil plan. March 2012 was when things imploded. Trey posted a video called "Mr. Anime is Planning Something" to his YouTube channel. And in the video, he expressed that he had found a new opportunity that might take him away from his YouTube channel for a while despite its growing success.
This is just an update video to let you guys know that I'm going to reward myself with probably a 2 or 3 week break coming up here from YouTube videos.
Trey then expressed his gratitude to his viewers, with his voice even shaking a bit as he thanked them for supporting him.
I want to thank you guys a lot for sticking with me and watching the channel. I got more subscribers than ever. I have more views than ever, and everything is going really good.
Little did his community know that the reason that he would be taking a break would not just be a reward, but a crime. Trey made all the preparations, such as buying supplies and studying floor plans. But before all that, the first step was to get rid of his obstacles, which in Trey's case was his family. And on March 20th, 2012, that is exactly what he did. Afterwards, Trey wanted to move on to step 2. Grabbing his things, he started heading toward his second destination, but couldn't go through with it. It was at that point that the reality of his situation started setting in, and things ultimately got too real for him. He then turned around and went back home to where the police were already waiting.
It's a crime in Waller that shocked us all.
Now he is headed to prison in a plea deal that not everybody is happy about.
This devastating case was all over the media for weeks, with footage of Trey's interrogation even being made available to the public. Trey was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Every crime in this video started with a choice to hurt instead of help, to take instead of give. My friends, the internet doesn't make you a criminal. Your choices do, so choose wisely. Visual Venture. Hold on, before you guys go, if you made it this far into the video, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because watching till the end really helps push this video out into the algorithm. And this is how I provide for my family, and you guys helped me do that today, so thank you. And if you like this video, make sure you guys click here to watch more dark internet documentaries. Love you guys. Peace.